What if your cloud system could bounce back from disaster in minutes, not hours? Or better yet, what if it knew how to optimize itself before anything went wrong? Well, in today's episode, I'm joined by Glen Shok, VP of Product Marketing at Panzura. And together, we're going to explore how CloudFS 8.5 is rewriting the rulebook on hybrid cloud data management. Yeah, we're going to get our geek on today as we talk about everything from instant node recovery to localized performance with regional store. And Glen is going to share how Panzura is helping enterprises handle growing data volumes, soaring egress costs, and the need for real-time AI integration, all while simplifying the experience for IT teams. So if you find yourself navigating complex file infrastructure or wondering how to future-proof your architecture without sacrificing control and performance, this conversation delivers plenty to think about. So what does resilient, adaptable file infrastructure really look like in a post-VMware AI-hungry world? Let's find out. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
I'm Glen Shok. I'm the VP of Product Marketing at Panzura. What I do, it's in the title. I'm a VP, so I do as little as humanly possible and punt my work off to everybody else. So that's really what I focus on. Panzura is in the hybrid cloud data management space. We have a couple of products. The one we're talking about today is CloudFS, which is our hybrid cloud file system, global file system. And then we have Panzura Symphony, which is a data management platform intended to help with automating compliance, data movement, AI training, and all that sort of thing.
And one of the things that put you on my radar was when I was reading that CloudFS 8.5 Adapt was actually built in response to customer feedback. So refreshing to hear that. But I'm curious, what were the biggest challenges that customers faced that led to that release, and how does it address them?
Yeah, availability and performance. Always the two. You could talk about any industry whatsoever, and the two chief complaints about anything, including my sports car, is availability and performance. So same goes for CloudFS. And we've been in the market for 20 years now, and we've constantly made improvements, and we've rolled out a lot of awesome features. But along the way, the customers that have been on this journey with us, what they're looking for is better performance, which when you're talking about a global file system, it's always been a trade-off for reliability and performance. There's a lot of folks out there, like, you can look at the old days of like Luster, right, which the Department of Energy still uses. Super high performance, super low reliability, but they can rerun the test. They'll just drop another nuke and try it again. So with enterprises, not so much. And we want to focus on that level of reliability. And with 8.5, what we've done is created a product that is both significantly better performance and significantly better availability. And the way that CloudFS works is there's nodes at the edge, there's CloudFS nodes at the edge, and then there's the backend object store. And we've improved both the performance and the reliability of both sides of that house. And that's really what 8.5 was about.
And with increasing geopolitical and technological uncertainty, we're hearing so many different questions that could be for another day around data sovereignty, data residency. And as a result, though, I think what is important is resilience is now more important than ever. Yeah. So how do you help businesses maintain business continuity and data security in such a fragmented world right now?
Right. Availability, again, is split between at the edge with CloudFS nodes, and then in the object stores on the back end, right? At the edge, we've released the ability to do what we call instant nodes. So historically, we've had a local HA. So it was an active passive pair. If the primary fails, it's going to fail over to the other. But you had to invest in a second set of hardware, the cores, the memory, the storage, and it's just sitting there doing nothing, waiting for the primary to fail. And when I was back in IT, no outage. It wasn't really an outage if the user could get up, go get a cup of coffee, and come back, and everything was still working, and everything was back to working, right? So your outage window is the time it takes to go get a cup of coffee and come back, and for the user to swear at the machine. So with Instant Node, we fall within the cup of coffee window. So instead of having an active passive pair, you can now just, in a virtualized scenario, say, if a CloudFS node goes down, get the cores, get the memory, right, from that pool of available resources that can also be used for other outages, and then bring up a CloudFS node from that. So in under 5 minutes, we can get a new CloudFS node. Also, what's really exciting about 8.5 is for the folks that live within the hurricane corridor, if they know they're about to get hit, which you find out a few hours before exactly kind of where it's going to land, you can move a CloudFS node to a region that isn't going to get hit, right? That's outside that hurricane window, and bring that up in 5 minutes and move all of our lock management over there so that the entire global file system maintains 100% uptime. So it's a graceful move. And then in the object store, we've always been going to a single backend, single source of truth. CloudFS is an immutable file system inherently, and we've gone to a backend object store such as AWS or Azure or pick your flavor. And that has been one object store. And when you talk to hyperscalers, they're talking 13 nines, right? At least 5 nines, but some of them are talking 13 nines. And that's fine for statistics, but reality could be a little bit different. And what we've come out with a while ago is the concept of cloud mirroring, which is creating an active passive object store pair. So if one object store fails, everything will fail over to the other. But again, you're paying money for a copy that you're not using. So with regional store in AWS and Azure, we can now bring up to 4 object stores globally. So you could basically, if you're a company with sites in the US, in EMEA, in Asia, historically, all of those CloudFS nodes had to go back to, let's say, the US. So when somebody pops in EMEA and there have been changes to big files, they have to get cached locally, so there's a delay. Now, if you bring up a regional store in the US and EMEA and in Asia, everybody's doing local I/O to that object store, and we're using the backend performance of AWS or Azure's network to sync all of those object stores up. And again, we still have byte range locking. We have all the locking our customers love. So there's no overwrites. There's no issues there. But you're going to get that local performance and that failover capability. So if the object store in the US goes down, all the CloudFS nodes can use the one in EMEA temporarily while waiting for the other one to come up. High availability. It's exactly what our customers have been asking for. And on both sides, with 8.5, we've delivered it.
And before you came on the podcast today, I was reading how you've been innovating rapidly in the hybrid and multi-cloud space there. But for anybody listening, hearing about you for the first time, just to get them maybe a little excited on this new release, how does it support your vision of this automatic data infrastructure that is ultimately self-healing and self-optimizing? Because that's the big value offer there, right?
Right. It's tough to get to the self-healing and self-optimizing phase, and it's taken us a very long time. And it's an iterative process. So the goal is that every CloudFS node has the entire set of metadata for the file system. And historically, what we've done is before we can bring up a CloudFS node, it has to basically bring back all of its metadata to ensure consistency within the CloudFS ring. That's no longer the case. With 8.5, we trust our system enough that we're basically uploading the configuration to the object store of every one of our CloudFS nodes. And then when you bring up an instant node, it's bringing back down the configuration in only the most recent set of snaps. So if you have a very large, like petabyte size file system, you could have had a 10 terabyte set of metadata that needed to have come down, and 10 terabytes is going to take a while, right? Instead, we're just bringing down the most recent snaps, which isn't a lot, and then again, bringing that system up within 5 minutes. So when failures occur, you can automate that motion to instantly across regions bring up another instant node, and in 5 minutes, it's just going to download its configuration from the object store and get up and running for the user base. The user base also needs to be available, which means that a lot of our customers will get powerful workstations in VDI, right? From the traditional VDI vendors, Azure, WorkSpot, all those, so that they can still continue to work really no matter what happens, right? What weather occurs, power outages, anything like that. And that's what we're setting up.
Love it. And another standout feature, of course, is Instant Node in CloudFS 8.5. So again, can you explain how it is accelerating recovery from node failures, and why it is also somewhat of a game changer for the many businesses that might be transitioning away from, let's say, VMware and those well-documented spiraling costs there at the moment?
Yeah, for VMware transition, yeah, it's been something that we've talked to customers about a lot recently, and it's a tough one, right? There's a meme that I read on Reddit recently about how VMware doesn't want you as a customer, but at the same time, they're sending you a cease and desist letter. So in case you are using it, you continue to pay them, but we don't want you, but we want your money.
Yeah.
And people aren't taking super kindly to that. With that, CloudFS has support for Hyper-V. We have support for Nutanix. We have support for KVM. And then also we're testing Proxmox right now. If customers want to move off of that, the great thing is, because Instant Node is bringing up essentially a new node in a virtualized environment, we don't care what virtualized environment it is, as long as it's on that list, which is pretty much the rest of them. So you can transition a node off of VMware onto any of those supported types. It's going to bring back its configuration, which is a CloudFS configuration, right? It has nothing to do with the hypervisor, right? And then bring back its snapshots. So if you want to run in parallel locally, you can also run in parallel locally. One CloudFS, and then start bringing up the other one on VMware, and then bring up another one on Hyper-V or KVM or Nutanix. Test everything, and then do a graceful failover, or just pretend that it was a failure of the system and bring up another one in 5 minutes on a different virtualization platform and go from there. So this feature makes it very simple for our customers to move from one virtualization platform to another, as well as just simply recover from any outages or move regions. Right, like I said, outside of a hurricane corridor or something like that, or a planned power outage. Those happen too. You can kind of move away from a planned power outage.
And regional store, that also enhances local access to cloud data while also reducing latency and costs. And I think this is especially interesting, especially in this AI era that we find ourselves in. It is a tech podcast. We got to mention AI at some point. But how does that feature help organizations improve performance for AI and machine learning workloads and real-time collaboration? Can you just bring that to life for me as well?
Yeah. Training AI is intensive, no matter where you do it. And there's really two options. You can use cloud-based AI solutions, or you can kind of bring it on premises, right? But with a global file system, right, especially the one that how we're designed, which is we are locally caching hot data so that you don't have to pay for egress from the object store, assuming you're working with a cloud provider that charges for egress from the object store. Now, with the regional store function, and with our ability to bring up a CloudFS node anywhere, you really want to do that training with no egress fees, because the AI is going to crawl your file system, which is then going to make everything look hot, which means everything is going to eventually be egressed. So we don't want to do that. If you're doing this training in the cloud, right, the assumption is that you have, let's say you're in, US West in AWS. You want to bring up a CloudFS node in US West, and the object store needs to also be in US West so that everything is localized. You can use regional store. Let's say historically you were somewhere else. And you like the concept of high availability, and you want to do that training in the US West. You could do basically a copy of the object store for HA, right? And the nice thing is with 8.5, we can write to the lowest tier, the lowest cost of object storage directly, which is also very nice. But you can do your training there, right? And we are, and this is since you're on this listening to the podcast, I'm going to give out a little bit of pre-release information. We're actually going to very soon release an early access for Copilot integration for the file system. Right, our customers have asked for this. They're looking to train Copilot specifically because it's Microsoft, and yeah, so we'll have that functionality. And again, if you want to do that work, you want to do it as close to the AI as humanly possible. So basically, bring up a CloudFS node there, attach the Copilot integration to that Azure spot, and go. Right, so that way it limits egress fees or no egress fees at all. And now you have an AI crawling your file system locally and as performantly as possible. If you're doing a on-premises version, right, just work. I'm hoping you're working with somebody that isn't charging you egress fees. You still want to do it on a separate CloudFS node, right? Because that way it doesn't mess with your user traffic, because your users, they have all their data that's hot, right? That office, that group has their set of hot data that is cached. We don't want to mess with the cache. So bring up another CloudFS node and train your AI there, because it is going to crawl the file system. There's nothing else we can do about that.
Wow, I do love a good teaser, and we could spend a whole episode just talking about that. So I think we might need to get you back on later in the year. Maybe we can explore that.
Yeah, I love talking about AI training, especially the Symphony product. What we can do with training small language models by building a metadata catalog, and basically it has inherent guardrails. Yeah, I can go off for an hour on that. So.
Well, just to tease a little bit, I mean, with AI playing a growing role in cloud file services, anything else you can expand on how Panzura is leveraging AI to optimize file access patterns and ultimately enhance performance for those latency sensitive applications? And because we don't talk enough about the ROI and the problems that we're solving here, but you guys are doing all this.
Yeah. So for user tracking, we have Panzura Data Services, and Panzura Data Services comes in two flavors: search and audit, and then on top of search and audit, you have detect and rescue. And what we've enabled is AI intelligence on the detect and rescue front. And the reason for this is ransomware. Right? That's really what it is. Any of our customers, just on the file system without data services, because the file system is immutable, they can recover from encryption. It's very straightforward, right? You get encrypted. We know what the deltas are. We'll recover your file system. You'll lose virtually no data because of that recovery time, because we know the whole file system was encrypted. We can recover before that encryption point, and your file system will look like exactly what it was before you got hit. You'll have some annoyed users. It'll take a while to recover. And by a while, I'm talking like hours. of outage versus days or, in some cases months for our competition to recover from tape or wherever they were backing up to. But with detect and rescue, what we're really concerned about is data exfiltration. Our customers don't want their data out in the wild. Nobody wants their data out in the wild. And step one to a successful ransomware attack is to exfiltrate the data. All right. And step two is to encrypt it. And step three is to ransom both. Right. So you can pay me to decrypt, right, as if I'm the attacker. But again, Panzura customers don't care about the decryption part. The decryption was already done. Oh, okay. So you've already decrypted. Cool. My bad. Pay me not to release your data, or to send it to your competitors, or to send it to someplace sensitive, right? And that will get a payment. So we're working to ensure that as soon as any anomalies occur around the data exfiltration part, the administrative staff of CloudFS is made aware, and we can even go as far as interdict and stop that user from exfiltrating data. The way that we're doing this, because Panzura Data Services is a SaaS platform, and by being a SaaS platform, it's hosted in AWS. We can use the AI that AWS provides to do user monitoring, right? There's plenty of people in that space, but the way we're doing it is specific to our file system. So we know more about our file system than anybody else. And we know that, let's say there's two users, right? There's an engineer that normally touches 1,000 files a day. And again, there's a VP like me that literally does nothing. I touch maybe 5 files a day. If that's the norm, then as long as the engineer is touching 1,000, I'm touching 5, everything is fine. Once I start hitting 10, 50, right? Either it's a weird day and I actually started working, or I'm exfiltrating data because I got hit with ransomware on my PC, and infected, and the data's starting to leave, or I'm just about to quit and I'm taking all of my intellectual property with me. Either way, somebody should get an alert, and potentially either way, somebody should be cut off. So that's the function that we're putting into Panzura Data Services that's live now. So anybody listening to this, if you want early access to it and you're a Panzura customer, let me know. But that's what we're doing today. It's available, and we can interdict, we can shut off user access, or we can simply just send an alert to the admins saying, this is weird, Glen's working today. That's, somebody should be made aware of this. We're using AI to do that level of intelligence automatically.
Incredibly cool what you're doing here, what you've achieved. And of course, if we step away from AI for a moment, in any IT department, security and cost control are always top priorities. They're going nowhere. So what enhancements in this latest release will help customers better manage security, authentication, and of course, those increasing cloud storage expenses?
Yeah, so with regards to security, we've added additional RBAC support with Okta, and we're adding, we already have Active Directory, but very shortly we'll be having just native Entra ID. So we have kind of like passive Entra ID support right now, and we'll have native Entra ID support very shortly without Active Directory traditionally. And those are the biggest players within that RBAC space.
And if we were to look ahead into the future, you've already given me a few hints around Microsoft Copilot integration, etc. But any other future innovations that we can expect from Panzura? And how do you see this hybrid cloud data management industry evolving in the coming months and years? There's so many big changes at such a rapid pace, but how do you see all this heading?
Yeah. Performance enhancements are coming very quickly. And the reason why we're focusing on performance is the users within our space, they already require performance to do the kind of collaboration function that we do. But now they're adding bots on top of it, right? Like AI. And it's putting a lot of strain on systems that don't support really good multi-channel support, 100 gig interfaces. So we did add support for 100 gig in the previous release. And very shortly, we're going to dramatically improve the performance of our SMB. And basically, our users will see our ability to actually utilize that 100 gig interface when they're talking SMB. And we're going to add support for S3 on the front end because, again, that's how AI workloads are going to attach to the file system. AI knows how to talk S3, but it doesn't know how to talk SMB or NFS or stuff like that. So that's really what's coming is support for language models, right? Being trained on unstructured data. Really where the future is 80% of your data estate overall is unstructured. That means it's sitting on platforms like NetApps, like CloudFS, SharePoint, right? Considered unstructured data. And customers don't want to have to copy that data set to like a Databricks just to train AI on it, right? They would love to be able to train AI where it sits. And that's where Panzura is going, is basically enabling AI to be trained on wherever your data is in place, kind of like a virtual lakehouse instead of a physical. And that can be a whole separate podcast, talk about AI training on unstructured data. But that's where it is. We're going to do our part on CloudFS by, again, the 100 gig interfaces, S3 native support on the front end. But then the Symphony product is really what can help enable training AI on all storage types on the back end, not just CloudFS.
Wow, exciting times ahead. I will make you a promise. We will get you back on later in the year. I'd love to see how fast things are moving, how things are evolving, and the kind of feedback you get from those future releases as well. We've got to make that happen. And well, thank you so much for sharing your insights with me today. And I'm going to ask you to leave one final gift. I always ask my guests to leave either a book to our Amazon wish list or a song for our Spotify playlist. I don't mind what you leave, but what would you like to leave and why?
I'm a big fan of Jocko's book on extreme ownership, right? I don't know if you've heard that a lot or not, but if raising two girls has taught me anything, is that it's always my fault, and I'm an idiot. So I take that to heart when it comes to business. When running a team, ultimately, it's on me, right? Take ownership, own what you're doing, and execute, right? And lastly, understand that you're probably an idiot, and you should trust your team. They're smarter than you. That's why they're there, and believe in them and just enable them to do their jobs. So I learned that in real life by raising girls, but his book also says that in a much more elegant way. So if you haven't read Extreme Ownership, I highly recommend it. It helps across the board.
Oh, what a great choice. I will get that added straight to our Amazon wish list. And we've covered a lot in a short amount of time today. And there's also a lot on the horizon for Panzura as well. So anybody listening, wanting to find out more about what we talked about today, keep up to speed with some of those big announcements in the very near future. Where should they go for everything?
Panzura.com, Panzura.com.
Awesome. Well, I'll get links added to everything there. And I meant what I said. We're going to stay in touch. I want to get you back on later in the year because you've got a lot of excitement developments going on. But just thank you for starting this conversation today. So much food for thought in what you said and some of the things coming. But thank you for coming on today. Really appreciate your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So a big thank you to Glenn for not only surviving a cross-country red-eye and still having time to sit down and speak with me today, but for also dropping a fast-paced masterclass on what it takes to future-proof data infrastructure in 2025 and beyond. And from reducing recovery windows to 5 minutes to enabling local AI training without skyrocketing egress fees, I think it's clear that Panzura isn't just building tools. It's solving real operational pain points. So how are you thinking about resilience, cost control and performance in your hybrid or multi-cloud environment? And could your infrastructure be working a little smarter or a lot harder for you? Let me know your thoughts. Please check out Panzura's latest updates over at panzura.com. If you want to speak with me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, just at Neil C. Hughes. But that is it for today. I'll be back again very soon. But thanks for listening as always. Bye for now.